Now, when I clocked out for the last ever time at my 9 to 5 job on Christmas Eve last year, I simply had no idea what was in store for me. And whilst I can now sit here 12 months later and tell you it's by far one of the best decisions I have ever made, I would be lying if I told you it's all been straightforward. So, in today's video, I'm going to share with you all of the biggest truths that I have learned during my first full year as an online entrepreneur. Let's get started. Alright, so the first major truth that I have learned during these past 12 months is that you are 100% fully responsible and in charge of your life and time. Now for me, whilst this all should have seemed very obvious and something I should have been fully prepared for, I don't think I really comprehended how big the change is until I fully committed to making that big leap. Because after all, with my 9 to 5 job, I had an office to go to, I had meetings to attend, I had a set lunch break, and of course, most importantly, I had a set time that I knew I should stop working. However, working for myself and specifically running 90% of my businesses online from the spare bedroom in my house, I had absolutely zero obligations to anyone or anywhere, so what I had to do was almost go ahead and create my own rules. Once again, this was very much more easier said than done, with so many different distractions around the house and absolutely no limit on how much I could actually achieve in one day, but it was something that I knew I had to change if I wanted somewhat of a chance of being successful. Now, one thing that I found really worked for me was actually setting myself what I call a power list of tasks to achieve for that given day. This is simply a list consisting of 5 tasks, big or small, that I had to achieve before I considered my day being complete. Doing this gave me a sense of knowing that I had made good progress for that day, and more importantly, helped me eliminate that guilt that maybe I hadn't done enough, which is certainly something that affected my mental health in the earlier months. Okay, so another truth that I had to learn early on was that with an online business or multiple online businesses, growth is not always guaranteed and your results are definitely going to vary from month to month. So one thing that you are definitely going to have to get a grip on is your emotions from early on. For example, in my first 3 months, things couldn't have gone better. My e-commerce business was hitting record sales. I filmed 2 of my best ever performing YouTube videos, and I had my record month for affiliates in February. However, when it came to April, whilst my effort levels were just as high, the results for that month just didn't quite come through. And having said that, the one thing that I experienced during that month which wasn't good was a massive feeling of doubt and almost a lack in belief that what I was actually doing was actually going to go ahead and work out. This then led to me taking more time off, not putting as much care and effort into my work, and essentially giving myself every opportunity to quit on what I had worked so hard to achieve in the first place. I really do think that this was one of the biggest mind shifts that I really had to get over, because after all, with my 9 to 5 job, I knew that if I turned up to work, did my job, and all being I didn't get sacked, I knew I was going to get paid no matter what, and with business, this couldn't be any more the opposite. Now, just going back to running an online business, one thing that then actually proceeded to happen was that after that bad month in April, come May, I actually had my best ever month to date, which actually leads me to my next truth, and that is, when you are working for yourself and building an online business or multiple online businesses, it's essential to remember that just because you put in a ton of hours work up front, it's not always guaranteed that you will see an immediate return on that effort. Now, this is so important that you understand this and trust that as long as you are putting in good quality work up front, over time, that delayed gratification will eventually arrive and you will see those results in the future. Moving on to another big truth that I had to learn quite recently actually, and that is money management is absolutely essential when it comes to running an online business or any business for that matter of fact. And yes, I know it should go without saying that because I make videos on personal finance, I should be basically a pro at this stuff. However, it's a lot easier said than done. And one of the biggest learning points and adjustments that I had to make early on was actually how I managed my tax situation. Because basically, just using the 9 to 5 job as an example again, all of the tax that you owe is already taken off before you get your paycheck. You will get that money deposited into your bank account, and on your pay slip, it will let you know how much tax you have actually paid for that period, and whatever you have left over is all of yours to spend. However, when you are self-employed or you have a limited limited company, it is completely up to you to pay this tax by yourself and on your own accord by certain deadlines. And I personally have had conversations with countless amounts of entrepreneurs who in their first year have shortchanged themselves and found themselves in quite a bit of a panic when it actually comes to that tax deadline. So having said that, a couple of tips that I would give to anybody looking to go self-employed is, number one, always put aside 20% of any income you receive in a completely separate pot so you are never shortchanged when that tax man comes calling. Number two is to always keep some kind of float for your business in your bank. I personally like to use 3 months of the business's monthly outgoings as my backup. And then number three is to not be afraid to invest into an accountant. Now, the money that you can pay is sometimes not cheap for an accountant, but boy, do they save a lot of stress and sometimes a lot of money over the long term. PS, if you did want to check out the accountant I use for all of my businesses, what I will do is leave a link to schedule a free call with them in the description down below. Now, moving on to one of the most important truths, and I'll be real with anyone still watching this video, the truth that has actually been hardest for me to learn, and that is simply, you have to make time for yourself. Now, there has been points over the past 12 months where I have had to sit down and ask myself why I work for myself, and every single time the answer comes back as freedom. So why on earth am I even feeling guilty about taking a day off? Yes, Gary Vee may tell you that he didn't have a Saturday off for 20 years.
I did not have one Saturday off in my 20s.
And whilst I do love Gary Vee and all the things that he has done for me, I just can't agree with trying to follow this pattern. So if you are ever feeling burnt out, lacking motivation, or feeling a lack of direction, always just take a step back, take your mind completely away from your business, and I can guarantee you it will do you the world of good. But hey, your experience or vision of self-employment could be completely different to mine, so make sure you do let me know about it in the comment section down below, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Take care.